Today's video is all about Spacemesh, on a quest to become the people's coin. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into the team, the tokenomics, the utility, and the overall value proposition, figuring out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio for the up and coming bull run. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome on the channel. We talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. And the question is Spacemesh an opportunity? Guys, we're going to look into this project. We're going to be doing a deep dive, and we're going to be looking into some of the details so that we can honestly make some critical decisions for this bull run. Are we going to be scaling in? Or are we going to be building a Spacemesh bag for the up and coming bull run? We're going to be using the website as the overall platform to navigate the project. I am hoping that the team has done a great job giving us all the information we need in order to get fundamentally bullish here. And ultimately, it's a critical thing that these projects consider the retail investor for mass adoption. And of course, because of the bull run, we want to get as much capital into these projects as much as we can. And the best way to do that is to make everybody feel safe. And the only way to do that is give them that information they need. All right, guys, we're going to take a look into this in a little bit more detail. Let's keep on going here on a quest to become the people's coin. Okay, not bad. Join the decentralized revolution. User-friendly, financially fair, environmentally sound, and totally permissionless. So it's not bad type of thing. I kind of like what they got going on here. There's a bit of a link. So let's open up this in a new tab. I already have a few tabs already for us to go through, but we'll keep on clicking and open up tabs as we go through. Proof of space time. We got a blog set up here so that you can kind of see what's going on with these videos and blogs and things like that. What is SMAPP? Rewards, explains how to smash and the protocol. What is smash? We're going to be talking about that in a second, guys. We're going to be going through this in a bit of detail. Honestly, it's all about the retail investor. In my opinion, obviously, we want mass adoption, and in order to achieve that, we need to provide the information for the retail investor, and I'm hoping that we can get everything what we need out of this website. Challenging the startup status quo. So ultimately here, in more blogs, more readings, more Spacemesh readings, which is cool. Obviously, I'm wondering if this is native or if this goes to Medium. A lot of websites do that. If it's extra information in addition to the fundamentals that we need, then that's totally fine. But every valuable piece of information should be here on the website. Stay up to date, get answers with the join the Discord, guys. Join the Discords. Discords are great places to get information. I did join and ask a couple of questions here and there, and honestly, not much activity there. They don't have a Telegram, which was also a little, unusual, given that a lot of projects do have a Telegram presence. But if you're not going to have a Telegram presence, you better make sure that that Discord is very active. And in my opinion, it needed a little bit of attention. Follow open source development and contribute. Of course, open source platforms are great. They use Git, and that allows a lot of collaboration and all of that, and openness and transparency. Great stuff there. The dashboard, you get a bit of a active smashers, 0 transactions. We got a bit, we got layers, accounts, and I'm curious about why there's a 0 here. Maybe that's a bit of a glitch or an issue. But do I trust this infographic here? I'm not really trusting it, to be honest. I see a little bit of randomness, which kind of bothers me, but nonetheless, sure, that's there as a graphical representation. Updates, more blog posts, what's going on here, the first quarter of 2024. So what I don't like is when projects give us updates without a roadmap. A roadmap is much different than an update. So projects that rely on updates and claim that that's their roadmap, that's not the way it is. So an investor needs to know their forward thinking, needs to stay one step ahead. An investor doesn't want to know the now, they want to know the future. What are they planning to do? Where are they going? Where are they allocating capital? What's their initiatives? Where are they allocating human resources? A lot of different things can be said about a roadmap. So in this case, it's great that we get updates. It's good stuff there, but we need a roadmap. And as we get to the end of the website, you can see that there's a lot missing here. and this is a bit of a problem. So I'm also critiquing the website because I do feel this is the gateway to the retail investor, but nonetheless, there's area of improvement here. We have a Discord, of course, the GitHub, the Twitter, X, if you want to get on that. YouTube, I'm wondering what kind of videos. They have probably some great videos there. And LinkedIn, which I have some tabs already open so we can look into the team. And that's that. So pretty good, but not enough, right? So, and even given the opportunities to click, we have Spacemesh. Let's click that. That probably just reboots the home screen. We have a blog. We have resources. Let's open this up in a new tab. We have updates, probably another blog. And let's look at the about. So we got a few tabs. Why not open these two? We got some tabs to go through. We'll go through them real quick. We just want to get an idea of what's going on here. And this is start smeshing. So smeshing basically is the ability to turn your home computer into some sort of let's call it a miner, which is not really technically a miner, but no specialized equipment, no mining pools, no technical knowledge. Basically, smeshers are individuals that give up a portion of their hard drive space in order to validate. Okay, it's part of their consensus mechanism, which we'll talk about in a second as well. Installing the running smash, so they give you a little bit of information how to get going there if you want to start earning for providing that space. And what's interesting here is their logic is, instead of requiring the user or the smasher to provide very expensive resources like GPUs and CPU mining resources, they're talking about using space, which is hard drive space. In that case, it's a lot more efficient and effective as far as for the environment, and running GPUs and CPUs can get very costly and waste a lot of energy and all that kind of stuff. So this reduces barriers of entry to pretty much anybody, because if you have a computer system with decent specs, you can get involved. You don't need to buy a computer system or a rig that it has high specs and obviously spend a lot of money and energy costs. So cost warning, all of that kind of stuff. So interesting. Okay, so that's that tab. Communities, why space, protocol overview, system requirements, the rewards. Let's see what's going on here. We got a little bit of a tab. Did we get anything out of this tab? Okay, the rewards. Yeah, we got stuff here. I think I may have this open up in another tab as well, but no big deal. We could definitely take a look at this. So actually, you know what? I got it all highlighted on the other tab. So let's move on. And this is the following table shows each decline. So it is a scenario where tokens are going to be minimized as they reach their quote unquote halving. It doesn't really have a halving. It's the tokens are distributed, or in the emission schedule is is a little similar to Bitcoin, but has its differences, and we'll talk about that in a second. Of course, this is an interesting tab because not only is it a blog style post, but they do got a lot of information. Okay, a lot of information, protocol overview, a lot of good stuff coming soon, unfortunately. So there's some things to worry about. We're going to cover a lot of this stuff in another section of their website. So I see a little bit of duplication, which kind of bothers me because it gets a bit confusing for people navigating a website when there's too much duplication, but that's fine. That's all good. At least it's there. Resources, what do we got here? Freaking lax protocol highlights, Smash economics, with 150 million coins will be set aside in vaults for several years. I think this is the vesting of early investors and things like that. The vaults, exactly. We're going to talk about this because there's a bit of a deception on the main homepage where they say it's fair economics or something like that. Forget the wording exactly. This user-friendly, financially fair. So some people might classify this to be potentially a fair launch. It's not necessarily a fair launch. It's close to fair, but not really there. Okay, so we got to identify there what's happening with some early tokens pre-Genesis or during Genesis. Tokens were issued to early investors, and that's not really fair, and then that's also not very decentralized. So we got to understand what that means. Ultimately, we understand that early investors, they provide a lot of liquidity, and they provide a lot of benefits to get the projects going, and that's what you pay for. You pay for that early impulse of capital to get things going. So does Spacemesh have a fixed coin cap? It's 2.4 billion tokens, guys. So it's a max supply smashed over 941 years. Again, there's a bit of discrepancy with these years that I've been seeing all over some of the documentation, but overall I think it's 941 years, and I'll show you some of that documentation. Financed a total of 18.5 was raised in round 2 of financing. This is what I mean. Like, these VCs, these are early individuals, core investors are Polychain, Paradigm. So these slow ventures, there's a lot of venture capital as Coinbase Ventures, and Coinbase would be one that I would obviously put there as a main backer. Because not only does it have the capability of obviously financing, but if everything goes well, it's likely to get listed on Coinbase. So that for me is a really, really good thing. And if you look at all the other ones, that's a lot of capital, and these are a lot of capital. All this capital needs to be reinstated to them eventually, and then the issue is that you're going to see a bit of sell pressure during that time. So this is something to consider. How are builders compensated? Builders and investors will be issued 6.25 on the total coin supply. So there's another thing to understand, that these builders, early investors, and all of this will be given a certain portion really early on, and potentially on a discount. So something to consider. How the rest of the coins, this is the good part. This is where it gets very fair. It'll be purely rewards. Purely rewards. The Spacemesh coin SMH that's reserved for smeshers will be issued over a period of 941 years. For more details, we'll talk about that in a second. So the economic model is really good. Let's open this up just in case. When coin bill after mainnet launch starts smeshing in. Okay, Smesh 101 visions and space. Yes, so lots of good stuff here. Can I fork? Can it be Can I contribute? So a lot of good things, but nothing really that important other than that. So this is not bad of a page. The frequently asked questions does give you quite a bit of resources that you need. All right, so let's move on from here. Let's continue to the important stuff. I know a lot of us want to know a lot about the tokenomics and the economic model, because ultimately this is a layer one that kind of is competing with smart contract platforms out there that are proof of work-ish or proof of stake-ish. So what they try to do here is combine the best of both worlds, which is kind of interesting here, and we'll talk about this more in a second. But really, the competitors out there, especially given that this is a DAG as well, okay, we have to understand the major DAG right now that people are buzzing about is Caspa, and it does a great job kind of like looking at what DAG should be and integrating the technicals of Bitcoin, because obviously we have a lot of data with regards to Bitcoin, so we can put a bit more confluence and trust into it. So Bitcoin, like Bitcoin, Spacemesh is basically a native coin that will be issued over time. So it has an exponential decay function with hard supply cap. So over time, what this means is that over time, it will gradually decrease the amount of tokens that get emitted in circulation, which means that there are a half-life of 31 years, and at 10-year post-genesis, 25% of the total issuance up to that point will be reserved for early investors. So that's quite a bit. So think about it. After 10 years, 25% of those tokens that are in circulation will be for early investors. So not only do we have a gradual supply, right, obviously decaying over time, so that we flatline the emissions curve, right? Eventually we want it to flatline, similar to Bitcoin, how it flatlines every 4 years. It goes slower and slower and slower. They also have a flatlining schedule, let's call it, to over time flatline, and in the amount of emissions get slower and slower and slower. The problem here is that I see a lot of tokens being reserved for early investors. However, issuance will continue for a long time, like I mentioned, at 941 years. Okay, so we're only talking 10 years, they'll own 25. So the critical moment is before 10 years. And we'll look at this in a little bit more detail in a second, because I'll show you what happens at 4 years, which is quite interesting. Long time after that, and eventually the share will fall to 6.25%. So eventually, eventually, as we see a lot of the tokens continue emitting over time, that 25% will eventually become 6.25, which is a little bit more understandable. The remaining 93.75% will be issued permissionless to smeshers. So all the miners, completely rewards, which is great, because that means it's decentralized. You're not necessarily to have to go on an exchange and buy them. You can just literally provide hard drive space and get the software going and earn completely permissionless. Spacemesh does not have a traditional pre-mine on the day of the network goes live, and for the first year thereafter, 0 coins will be issued to early adopters. Everything that was issued early is done prior. As we know, a good portion of it is to early investors. The only coins in circulations and tradable for the first year are those that were mined permissionless by the smeshers. Okay, so good stuff. Now let's look at this in a little bit more detail. Can we zoom in here? Probably not, but all good. The overall market cap, like the max supply, the cap is at 2.4. Okay, so that's a significant amount. Now 50% of the tokens will be mined after 29 years. Okay, last coin will be mined at 941 years. Okay, so we talked about that. The interesting part, so the supply 10%, supply percent at 10 years 25%. We have a vesting period, a vault total vesting period at 36 months. So at certain point during those 10 years, right, we'll have a scenario where those early investors will have unlocked tokens, which kind of bothers me because it's a significant amount during that time. So during the first 10 years, we're going to get a lot of sell pressure until a lot of those early investors kind of, you know, liquidate or sell or you know, provide those tokens to the market, which eventually, you know, more holders will be holding them instead of it being so centralized. So I understand what they're going here. I know they need to raise capital in the early stages of the project. I get it. But just understand that in a bear market, these individuals, these VCs will take profit. They will take profit, not intentionally to dump on the project or anything like that. Their main objective is to provide capital to a business and earn returns as quickly as possible and get out of a risky scenario as quickly as possible. If you look into what VCs do and their whole objective, it's about risk management, and number one, and number two, it's about getting the return on their investment as soon as possible, because the longer they keep their investment within a project, the more risk they're taking. Very similar to crypto trading. Okay, so this is what we have to understand here, is that the first 10 years are a bit critical here. In fact, after 4 years, we start to see a bit of pressure, and we'll look at the data in a second. The first is that rather than having an abrupt halving, Spacemesh issuance decays predictably and gradually within every layer. So that's very interesting. They don't have a halving very similar to Bitcoin. They have something where the tokens are slowly issued over time, or layer by layer. The second is that whereas Bitcoin has a half-life of about 4 years, half-life on Spacemesh is 31 years. So their halving schedule, let's per se, is at about 31 years, which is a lot longer. This means that while the last full Bitcoin will be issued around 2140, Spacemesh is at 2299, which means a significant amount of years here. So distribution is going to take time. I get it, but again, the critical timing is 10 years prior. That's where we're going to see a lot of the volatility. After 10 years, we start to see it slowly, the volatility slowly decay. The third is that a small portion of Spacemesh issuance, 6.25 of the total, flows in vaults. So remember that vault that's on vesting at 4 years for early investors and builders within multi-year vesting. That multi-year vesting is 4 years. So look at this. You have 4 years. After that, everything flatlines here for the early investors, but really you can see the tokens increase. But what's going to happen is that at unlock at this level, we have more opportunities to see these individuals potentially take profit. So just keep in mind, as they get unlocked, we're going to have to be very defensive on the gains because they're going to want to take profit as well. So you can see that over time, very similar to Bitcoin, what Bitcoin does, it eventually goes up and flatlines pretty hard, and it goes sideways. This is where you lose the volatility. This is where we are right now in this growth phase. We're seeing a lot of tokens enter circulation, but eventually it's going to flatline, and that's where eventually you're not going to see the supply go stagnant. And that's where, you know, as long as demand outpaces supply, there's going to be a battlefield here for people to accumulate tokens, and the price is going to go up. So this is what we have to understand, is that, you know, vesting versus circulating mesh first 500 years, guys, that's a lot of years. That's the thing we have to understand. This is a long-term vision, an extremely long-term vision, a vision that, you know, will take a significant amount of time, but this is the groundworks. We're here at the beginning phases of the project. So just understand that. The great puzzle. Okay, so more interesting stuff. Firstly, good economics allows them to ensure that any user, in around the world, no matter what, can use their existing computer system. Nothing consumer grade computer, internet connection can participate profitably in mining. Nothing special. So this means that there's there's a more of a decentralization here. So there's no economic constraints, there's no red tape or friction to get in and to participate. And this is something that we all want, a permissionless generating economic value, basically to allow anybody to get involved. Secondly, in order for the Spacemesh network project and community to reach its full potential, it's absolutely essential that the new contributors, whether smeshers, developers, investors, community leaders, or those in other constructive roles, be fairly compensated for their contributions. So this is what they're trying to do, is make it a very fair scenario, extremely fair, although we know it's not completely a fair launch. Okay, so this is what we have to understand, because the buzzwords nowadays is fair launch. But then again, they attribute the fairness aspect of things primarily based on their reward system. Finally, in order to maintain credibility, it should be difficult to impossible to change the economic model. So they're using Bitcoin as that standard, right? They took Bitcoin standard and kind of made a few modifications potentially to make it a little bit better, because of course Bitcoin has a lot of criticism with regards to its inefficiency with electricity and the fact that it's not good for the earth and the environment. So what they did is, instead of doing CPU, GPU mining type of scenarios, they're doing proof of space, right? So it's actually proof of time space, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And that's a good one. Okay, so and curious. So this paragraph is solid, guys. It tells you quite a bit, kind of sums up a lot. And this is what I like about this. Just keep in mind, this is a blog post. Okay, this is something that should be put on the website in a nice, very infographic way, instead of on a blog post. But nonetheless, this is what we got. The native coin of Spacemesh is called Smesh. The network produces a new layer containing a new set of blocks every few minutes. So every layer you get a let's say some tokens enter circulation. The first layer will issue 447 Smesh coins to the miners that participate in the layer. And from there, issuance will fall very gradually over time. We talked about this. The total amount of coins to be issued is 2.4 billion. So that's the max. After about 29 years, half of those coins will be issued. So the beginning of the project, the first 29 years, that's where you get the majority of the tokens entering circulation, and that's where you get the majority of the early investors involved. This is why I'm saying the first 10 years are going to be very critical here for this project. So don't have a long-term vision with a trading portfolio or a trading mentality. Be prepared to take profit and expect it to retrace significantly in a bear market. But then if you're fundamentally bullish, be buying that dip as soon as it comes down, because I do expect an 80 to 90% retracement for sure on a lot of these altcoins, particular ones that have early investors such as this one. The last full Smesh coin will be issued 266 years after Genesis. Remember what I said, there's a bit of discrepancy with the 941, now we have 266, and there's a bit of an issue with some of these numbers and all of that, so I'm going to kind of scooch over it. Spacemesh issuance is 100% transparent, predictable, stable, and unchanging. So this is great. We want that stability and forward thinking available to us so that we can make some plans going forward. We're all made here. Okay, good. So a lot of good information. So we're getting a sense of what's happening here. Let's keep on going. Let's see what else we got here about us. What we do, what we stand, the Spacemesh team. We don't got many things happening. We got some websites that you can kind of click and click and click to kind of see, but I try to do some research on the founders and the lead dev. Okay, those are the three individuals that I decided to kind of take a look at. So we'll do that in a second. What else? We have more blog posts, heavy on the blog posts, guys, a lot of blog posts everywhere. And this makes deep dives very difficult because you don't know where to be looking. Everything should be on the main page. Just to recap, guys, this is the main page, and all of what I've been talking about, instead of putting all these blog posts on here and things, look at that. Just it looks like a web page full of blog posts. What it needs is some graphics, infographics, some explanation on on their consensus mechanism, their distribution. They need a deep dive on the front page here. They need to reevaluate what they put and make it readily available to the retail investor. So that's that. Let's get right into more of these pages that I got open here. Updates along the way. Okay, good stuff. A lot of things. Research and development. Sync V2. A lot of good stuff. Technicalities. And I guess in this case, it's quite important for you to keep up with their socials, particularly X, to get these updates along the way so you can stay one step ahead. Let's move on with the updates. The white paper is good. Typical white paper. So this is just an introduction of and the abstract of the white paper. But if you click it, you get a Google Drive where you get a very, very technical white paper. So if you're into the technology, you want to, you're an engineer and you understand what's going on here, great stuff. And here on the channel, I do put a lot of value for providing information for the retail investor. And a lot of this is not for the retail investor. However, it is for individuals that want to know very, with a lot of detail and depth about the project. And what I do here is say, look, at least if we can get some of this information readily available to the retail investor, we should be okay. Now, as far as the roadmap, guys, this is a very unconventional way of showing us a roadmap. It is on GitHub. It's not a very ideal. I've never seen a roadmap on a GitHub like this. Again, something that should be put on the website. Put this on the website. Put some nice graphics, some clickable things or whatever you want to do. Design it very nicely and get this information out there. At least we have some, up until 2025, and it gets a little vaguer over time. Understood, because of course no one knows exactly where we're going to be leading, but maybe a bit of an update, because the last time this was created was in 2023, which means that we have some time here to kind of like touch base on what the new objectives are year by year. Given the fact that we're leading into a bull run, this is where everybody needs to, all these projects need to ensure that everything's all aligned, that they're ready to go. They need to sell their projects right now to the retail investor. Retail investors are hunting for opportunities, and a roadmap is a good way for an investor to go look and to see whether it is an opportunity. So an update would be viable. Put it on the website. Let's get going here because we can see that in the next little while. Phase 3 features completeness, aka Titan description. This is the first production ready version of Spacemesh. Bugs have been mostly ironed out. Are they? Or maybe they might already be ironed out since this is written. So that's the thing. Like when you see an old deep dive, roadmap, you want to make sure that everything is fine. And at the end of the day, maybe there's better progress than they actually accounted for. So I think this needs an update. And what I really do like for a lot of this documentation, generally speaking, is a Git book. Guys, Git books are great. I appreciate them because I do deep dives all the time. And when I see a Git book, it makes my life a lot easier. They have links, they have this, they have that. You can put graphics and so on, and it looks like a working document where the somebody that's part of the marketing or communications of the team can go and quickly make changes and add information as we go along. This is not the most ideal way to do this. Okay, so let's move on. We got this. I found this to be cool because I got some data. Yes, the price did dip just a little bit according to my video because I did create the video on all the graphics and all the numbers yesterday, but how it is with this market. It's very volatile, but give or take, it's at about $2, $1.80, I think, for today. We'll check into that in a second, but you can see how we're doing here, how many layers and so on, and market cap is currently $74 billion market cap, which million dollar market cap, which is 74 million is still very small, guys. Very, very, very small. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of potential growth here, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now, there's more documentation all over the place. This looks like a Git book. I'm not even sure if it is. Let's make this dark mode, but you can see that there's more documentation, but I don't trust this, right? So because you can see latest version, up-to-date documentation, you click this, and then we get into another area. This is what bothers me. Like, I shouldn't have to do like this type of bouncing around with so many things happening. I don't even know where to go. Proof of space time. This is what we really want to look into. Let's see what they got here. So in contrast to proof of work based chains, Spacemesh allows a set of consensus mechanisms collectively referring to proof of space-time. So it's its own consensus. Okay, so it improves on the proof of work. Eligibility, again, very easy to get involved, right? Because ultimately it's a permissionless fashion. That's really what we want. Leader election. The protocol uses verifiable random functions to sample a set of miners. Okay, so this is all how it works. Block production. Each miner eligible to produce a block is given a layer, may optionally do so. So you got options, as in Bitcoin, the miner may include any set of valid transactions they like in the block, and empty block, very similar to the way Bitcoin works. Fork choice, a lot of good stuff here that you can read into, the structure and all of that, a lot of good stuff. But really, what we really have to understand here, it's a layer one that is trying to improve what Bitcoin is doing, and additionally add smart contracts. So what does that sound to you? It sounds like many competitors out there in the space at the current moment. So good stuff. What I want to do is click this. There's one area here on space time. I want to see what this shows us. Let's open up this in a new tab. The space-time, proof of space-time. So this is their bread and butter of how things work. So you can see there's lots of documentation, Spacemesh platform all over the place, guys. So much happening here, and this should be put into a little bit of a cleaner package for the retail investor. Okay, so that's cool. A lot of good reading if you're interested. Now let's look at the team, guys. What's going on with the team? So the team, in fact, is pretty good. Like, honestly, I looked into the co-founder and the CEO of Spacemesh. Not bad here. He's got a lot of experience in the tech field, in programming, engineering, New York based context. What is revolutionary display media buying platform. Okay, so they got a lot of stuff going on here. What else do we get? Result in dramatically higher performance, optimization costs. Okay, what is it? Evergreen partners, investments. So this individual looks like is more of an individual that's part of a like a fund. This person looks like it's just has lots of experience in various aspects of technology, and it looks like it's just a business acumen background, right? So which is pretty cool. We obviously need a little bit of these talents, obviously. Then you start looking at this individual right here that's also a very strong in his entrepreneurship skills, right? Lots happening here. And if you click on their experience, board member, you can see these board member everywhere, and a lot of different projects across the board. But I would have liked to see one of these founders to have some solid experience, particularly with blockchain. However, it's not the end all and be all, because they were able to align themselves with a dev that has a lot of great experience leading multiple distribution development teams, right? This individual's got a lot of senior engineering manager and site manager experience, right? CodeLine, full-time head of engineering, and a lot engineering co-owner, engineering, a lot Python, full stack, a lot of good stuff here, guys. Lots of experience. So it's okay if the owners and the founders don't have all that tech experience, as long as they're able to bring in that talent. Now, the only thing that bothers me when I'm starting to look at all of this is they have other obligations, right? Now we see full-time. What does that mean? Full-time, what does that mean? Like, are they present? So no, this is not present. This is the present. Okay, we're good here. The dev is full on Spacemesh. I like that. Now the co-founders, on the other hand, I'm not really on the founders, I'm on the fence about. It looks like they're very obligated into other projects. It's not like they're completely invested here. I don't know. I see their experience, but I don't see any dates are really present. Okay, fine. And then if randomly Spacemesh, is this present? Okay, but they also have investor and advisor present, and this is present, and this is present. And a lot of this individual is presently occupied with a lot of other obligations and boards and so on. And this individual here Okay, fine, full-time, which is great. Spacemesh full-time. No, I don't see any other obligations. So not bad. I just question a bit of the obligations that these individuals have, particularly this person right here. Okay, so that's that. Solid team, decent, very decent. Let's move on. What else do we got here? Let's go to some of these tabs. So back to this, back to that. We got a lot of info here, guys. Definitely a lot of info. So where I think that we need a bit of improvement here is ultimately the way the information is distributed, right? It's a little bit of everything. You know, the website could do a better job offering us that information to make our life easy. All right, guys, you guys know that I release a infographic for you guys when I do these videos, and here it is, Spacemesh overview. Basically, Spacemesh is a layer 1. It's a DAG, it's decentralized, it's environmentally sound because of its consensus mechanism, and it's permissionless. So a lot of good stuff there. Very, very clear, very, very good stuff. Okay, so and then obviously we start to look at concepts like ecosystem. Right, it doesn't really have an ecosystem yet. It's still in the works. It's still very young, so there's a lot happening for the future, right? So we gotta think speculation. We gotta think, you know, future, forward thinking. However, without a proper roadmap that can give us some confidence, honestly, it's very hard to understand where the ecosystem is going to start to kick in. And this is where we need to have that roadmap ready available. We'll talk about that in a second. The utility proof of you know, space and time rewards. We know that's their proprietary consensus mechanism that's meant to improve the proof of work idea by making things simpler. So that's good. Transaction fees, eventually that's where it's going to come out. So very typical utility. However, we hope to see this token being used in a very different way, or in additional ways as the ecosystem grows and as the project itself, you know, as a layer 1 develops. Okay, so it's pretty good for where it is. Let's put it that way. The roadmap is available on GitHub, which I don't appreciate. I made that very clear. Not a traditional way of displaying an active roadmap. Roadmap is from 2003 and needs an update 100%. So these are things that need to be considered because we don't know where we're going with things. We need to definitely keep an update. The team, fully docs team, so I was able to get on LinkedIn accounts and websites and all of that, which is great. Founders have tech experiences, which is good. Founded many companies, which is great. The lead dev has a strong computer science background. A lot of good stuff there. Okay, so just keep in mind the socials, decent. They got, for their size, they got 36,000 followers. Their overall engagement is doing good. It's up 120% as far as their followers, which is good, and their posts are going up as within the last 30 days, up 104%. So they're getting active there on the socials, particularly X, and that's how I would leave it at there. The tokenomics, somewhat a fair launch, not completely fair. Let's be real, okay? It's not really fair because we got early investors that have vesting schedules that only a lockup for 4 years, and it equates to about 25% upon the lock when it gets unlocked. So it's a significant amount. 941 years to be fully diluted, so a lot of time to see a full dilution and emissions of all the tokens after you know, the half-lives. Which after 31 years, 941 fully diluted, guys. It's gonna take forever, but it's all good because at least we know that we won't have sell pressure and all that kind of stuff. After 10 years of early investors will hold approximately 25%, and this is where things start to look a little bit, you know, just be ready, be careful, okay? Just be careful. 7 out of 10 for partnerships. There's a lot of VCs, but I think the one that really I'm going to put that is worth noting is Coinbase Ventures, because there could be a scenario where they could be listed on Coinbase. Right? It could be because they have that connection, they have that tie. Why else do you think Coinbase Ventures is getting all involved? Eventually to get them listed, perhaps as they see their project grow and they see the demand for the token grow, they'll probably get them listed. So think about it like that. As of now, it's not listed. It's only listed on SafeTrade, BingX, and XT.com, which means that they need a lot more listings, at least MEXC and also on. Let's get those listed on those, but ultimately as of now, 2 out of 10 for that because they don't have much. Now this could be an opportunity or an issue, right? We got to look at it like that. But at the end of the day, as a trader, it's more of an issue than anything because the liquidity, it's not there. If you, let's say all of a sudden you wanted to sell, you're keeping your fingers crossed that these small exchanges, given the amount of liquidity they have, which is going to be small, have enough to pay you out, right? And that's the problem, especially especially in the top of the bull run with a project that runs really hard with very little liquidity available, is that on paper you might have done very, very well, but then try to sell it, you won't be able to, because there's not enough tokens or people willing to sell and so on. So this is a bit of an issue here, but I'm expecting as the project get listed on other exchanges, we could definitely see some volume in, particularly if it gets listed on Coinbase. So not bad of a scenario there. Now let's look at some of this coin info as of today, as of yesterday or so. Guys, the price is at around right now about $2, give or take. We're getting a bit of volatility in the market. It's hard to catch the price absolutely perfect, but nonetheless, market cap about 86 million. Trading volume was a little bit okay. I like about 10%, but it's at 5.4, not bad. $4 million worth of trading volume. The supply of the total max, not the total of the max, because the total will increase as the circulating supply increases. So this fully diluted evaluation is deceiving, guys. It's not the right, I wouldn't even pay attention to the fully diluted, because ultimately fully diluted is going to change as the total supply increases, as more tokens increase. So it's not really fair. Okay, so we have to understand is that at the current level, at the current scenario, the max supply, the supply, which is 40 million tokens, more or less 41 million, it only represents 1.7% of the entire total max market cap. Okay, so that's total max supply, which makes things, it means that there's a lot of tokens yet to be issued. But guess how long it's going to take? Remember, 941 days, guys. It's going to take some time, so don't worry about that too much. I would be worrying again more within the 4 to 10 year mark. That's where things start to look a little bit rocky until it stabilizes. So not bad there overall. Let's move on here and I'll give you my verdict. My verdict is honestly, it's pretty safe. The project is so new that there's no real issues just yet, other than let's get going, right? We want to see more. We need to see some of the socials improve. So just to reiterate, it's a layer 1 DAG, decentralized, environmentally sound, permissionless type of system here that it's got going on, rewarded for providing storage space to the network for a particular time. So it's a space time. So it's not just space, but it's for how long. And depending on those two factors is how you're going to get rewarded. As rewards for the proof of a space time validator, that's what you're going to be issued tokens. Now, SMH, SMH is the name of the Spacemesh native cryptocurrency. One SMH equals to 1 billion smidge. Similar to how Bitcoin has Bitcoins and Satoshis, well, SMH has SMH and smidge. Okay, this is where things kind of like get a little bit interesting, but nonetheless you have the fractions of a SMH, which are called smidge. Interesting name, but all good. Founders are part of many boards and concerned about focus of the founders. So again, like noticed that one of the co-founders looks like it's just a strategic partnership, perhaps, or not even, maybe a partnership where it's like a silent partnership, because I don't see much blockchain experience. There's just a lot of involvement in many companies and boards, but nonetheless the lead dev is solid as far as I can see, and there's probably other talent in there, but I didn't look at them all. But the lead dev is definitely full of talent, so I feel pretty confident with the fact that the team has what it takes to make this thing continue. The website needs a deep dive info readily available, guys. The website needs a total revamp. It's unfortunate. You shouldn't have to go on there and start digging around to blog and blog post and get mixed information and repetition information, lack of clarity because there's no infographics or anything like that. Remember, all this needs to be packaged, ready to go, for the retail investor. It's in the packaging. It's not a tangible product. It's a software solution, and ultimately, software solutions have a challenge. The challenge is the packaging, and the packaging for software solutions are websites and socials, and if they're not well done, it's very hard to sell this product for the retail investor. So it needs some strategic business planning here to get this thing packaged a little bit more appropriately, particularly the website, guys. Definitely no Telegram. Okay, perfect, fine. That's fine of a choice that you prefer Discord. To be honest, I prefer Discord. I like Discord a lot better than Telegram. However, little activity on the Discord, so it tells me that there's no really any community member or team member that's on the Discord, and I know they try to keep it very decentralized. I get it, but nonetheless, there has to be some activity there. There has to be some, because you ask questions, especially early on in the phases, because there's nothing on the website to really give you all that information nice and neatly and cleanly. You go to the Discord to ask questions and there's nobody there, then it becomes like this is a project that is basically not being taken care of. It's like it seems abandoned, right, in that case, but it's not. Obviously it's not. It's got a great stuff going on for it, so it just needs to repackage itself. Just understand that we are leading into if we continue this bull run, which I believe we should, we're getting to the parabolic wave of things, right? And this is the time to shine. This is where all these projects should all be ready to go for the main event. And based on what I see here, it's not really ready to go, right? So for me personally, as a retail investor, when I'm looking to deploy capital into a project, I basically measure out my risk to reward. And based on the facts here on the table, I can't deploy as much as I wanted to, because of the lack of ambiguity, because of all the ambiguity and the lack of clarity. I have to hold back and directly put a portion of my position size according to the risk I'm taking based on the ambiguity, which is an unfortunate thing. So it's the responsibility of the team to make things clear and concise so that we can do these deep dives in peace and get some information and get fundamentally bullish, right? So again, let's move forward, guys. What do I think? If everything goes well, okay, I'm being very modest here, and I'm trying to be very critical as well. And I want to be as open and transparent, because ultimately these projections are just projections, guys. No one knows where this is going to go. If all I know, this thing could be the next Bitcoin. I don't know. Nobody knows. But from what I see here, if it can catch up to Caspa, it will do a 50x, 48x. Okay, that would be a great scenario. Now, does Spacemesh have the same community that Caspa does? It does not. Okay, it does not have that same community, right? So this is an issue. Now, Spacemesh has some issues with its community. Like I'm saying, it has good engagement, but it needs a Telegram or put some effort in that Discord to build that community. Now, I don't think it's going to catch up to Caspa. Caspa is already rolling out with its smart contracts, which is great. Hopefully that actually comes to fruition. It's got the packaging well done. Everything is there for that is ready to go for the retail investor. So product market fit is there, and marketing is ready to go. So I cannot say that Spacemesh is going to actually catch up and do a 50x. But why not at least halfway? Maybe it does that. Maybe it goes for another 25x or something like that and hits a $50 price target. That would be totally fine. That would be an acceptable target, and that would still be very ambitious in my opinion, given the fact that it's in the early stages still, okay? But a lot of people are talking about it, and I do appreciate what it's trying to achieve here. So I give it an 8 out of 10 because it has a lot of potential, but there are some areas where we need to kind of like make things a little bit better. The retail investors shouldn't have to spend 3 days trying to figure out what's valid in the information. If you want to make it a quick buy, a quick, easy decision, provide the information to make that decision making easy. All right, that's what I would suggest. And of course, none of this is financial advice, guys. I hope to see some great updates here for the Spacemesh team in the upcoming days, because we definitely want to start scaling into some great projects. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's see what's going on here with the price action. So I wasn't able to find a great chart on TradingView, but I was able to find something here on CoinGecko, so we're gonna have to make this do. Now, if you do see ultimately what's happening in the last little while, we did run up to about $7, and now we're in a bit of a retracement. Now, there's not much more data than what I have here readily available to me, but you can see a lot of volume happening in the last little while on this dip. Now, of course, we're making lower lows and lower highs as of now, which means that eventually we should start be looking for a bottom. And I would say that at worst case scenario, we come down to about $1, which in my opinion would be a significant move to the downside. Now, if we kind of rearrange some of this data and we make it get into candlesticks, maybe look into the 3 months, you can see that it's kind of like bottoming out here in the last little while. And we get it onto the yearly, you can see that we're looking at this bottom. That's why I say kind of like at $1 was worst case scenario. We do come down to that level. However, guys, if we do come up with some sort of structure right here at the $2 mark and we go sideways for a little bit, it's very easy for us to put a stop loss right underneath the $2 mark, maybe at about $1.80 more or less, like right underneath this low, and that way we can expect a bounce to the upside. But until then, you know, we are still building proof. Now, I like the fact that this low at the current level, where we are right now at the $2 mark, is giving us a higher low. We do break out and start making a move to a higher high scenario. We start looking for a change of character in the trend. As of now, we did get a nice impulsive move to the downside. You can see this nice big retracement. It does eyeballing it. It does look like a nice, you know, 786, probably 786 retracement. I don't think it's an 886. It looks like a 786, but all good. You know, it's a deep retracement, and then all of a sudden we go for that flag. Now, I know the bears are going to continuously say it's potentially a bear flag for another move to the downside, which is possible, but if we maintain a structure here with signs of divergence and all of that, it is very likely that we start building a bottom, and then we could put a stop loss underneath the over consolidation or the structure, and build a position to that for an anticipation of a bounce to the upside. And that's how we can get into a position with a healthy risk to reward ratio. Guys, let me know in the comment section below if you know a place where I can get a solid chart here on this project, because I feel like I need to cover this in a better amount of detail, but there's nothing. I couldn't find anything. But again, if you know anything, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll glad to give you guys an update in the upcoming days with regards to price action. But in the meantime, guys, keep an eye on these bottoms, because if we do make that structure, we can put a bit of confidence in that structure, put a stop loss in, and expect a bounce in the market. Because if Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the market starts to show strength again in the next little while, we can expect a lot of these altcoins, these low caps, you know, $73 million market cap altcoins with lots of potential listings in the future and a lot of upgrades and a lot of potential growth, to get a nice fat bounce to the upside. And even if it reclaims its previous highs at about $6.50 more or less, we can see some great gains to that level, and never mind price discovery and all of that. So we definitely want to stay one step ahead of the market here and prepare ourselves for any up and coming price action. And of course, guys, if I've offered you any value in the video, do the channel a massive favor, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Guys, see you tonight, 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.